After many delays due to real-life wars, the Advance Wars 1 and 2 remake for Switch has finally come out. I've been pretty excited for this game since I've never played Advance Wars before, but being an avid strategy game and Fire Emblem fan, I've heard so many great things about the series. And I have to say, these games totally lived up to my expectations. Let's start by talking story. There isn't one, and since most of my audience likes Fire Emblem, this may be a turn-off for a large portion of them. The campaign mode story is nothing more than an excuse to meet all the commanders and fight them. The second game has a little more story-wise, but still isn't anything to write home about. For me personally, I don't care. I don't need story from this game. But for you at home, this might be a big deal and it's worth talking about. However, what the game doesn't have in story, it makes up for in charming characters. Each CO is not only fun to play as with unique mechanics, but they have very strong personalities that the voice acting helps bring out. That being said, the game not being fully voiced does lose it a point in my eyes. I think full voice acting is cool, and no voice acting is also okay, but the half voice acting thing where they say the beginning of a line and then just stop talking after is really annoying to me, and that's what most of this game is. I also wish there were a few more lines when COs use their powers, but that's not the worst thing ever.
Andy! Nil?
Now, the gameplay. This is what you're really here for, and it's really fun. Advance Wars units are all really well balanced and have their own uses. War Room missions against the computer are a fun sandbox where you can try out different commanders and strategies, and I personally think these missions are where the game excels most. Campaign missions, on the other hand, are hit or miss for me. They feel very puzzly and utilize a more closed sandbox, with many not allowing you to build units. That's a fine approach, but I personally prefer the more dynamic gameplay of the War Room. I feel like the campaign often restricts the sandbox and available strategies so much that it feels like an extended tutorial a lot of the time. I don't feel like I'm coming up with a strategy so much as I'm finding the intended one, and the game holds your hand into finding that strategy a little too much too late into the game. Once you beat the campaign and unlock challenge mode, that's an entirely different beast, but I would prefer if the difficulty of the base campaign offered a little more on its own. I've finished the first game, I've just started the second, and so far this criticism seems fair for both. So, the campaign feels like an extended tutorial and the introduction to the commanders, and the War Room lets you play with all those commanders against the AI. All of that is cool, but it's all really building up to the multiplayer experience. There's a reason this game is still played competitively after all. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a chance to play any multiplayer in Reboot Camp, because the game has no matchmaking. You can only play with friends, and I don't have those. It's the usual backwards online services you've come to expect with the Switch, but personally this is a huge problem for me with a game like Advance Wars that feels so well built for a multiplayer experience. I don't think this game has quite enough content in its campaign to justify the purchase as a solely single-player endeavor. So to summarize, I'd give the game an 8 out of 10. The gameplay is really amazing and super fun and well balanced, and it's just addicting and fun to play. Challenge campaign and War Room are great, but require playing through the more boring easy campaign to unlock stuff. The multiplayer without matchmaking is really the biggest points off here. The game just doesn't feel like a complete package without multiplayer matchmaking. It feels like that's something that they probably should have focused on with this remake, as that's a huge selling point for the remake over the originals. But of course that's just my opinion, and hopefully it will help you decide whether or not you want to purchase this game. Thanks for watching my video, and if you don't mind subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. See you on the non-match-made battlefield.